The damaged Valaxian scout ship hurtled through Earth's atmosphere, trailing smoke and debris. Warning systems blared inside the cockpit as Zorthal fought to maintain control. His six-fingered hands gripped the navigation controls, his purple skin glistening with sweat as the ship plummeted toward the surface of the uncharted world. Emergency landing protocols engaged. The ship's AI announced in a flat tone that contrasted sharply with their dire situation. The ship crashed into a cornfield in rural Iowa, carving a deep trench through the crops before coming to rest at the edge of a wooded area. The impact knocked Zorthal unconscious. His slender body slumped over the control panel. Jack Murphy was checking his fence line when he saw the object streak across the morning sky. At first he thought it was a meteor, but the controlled descent suggested otherwise. Curiosity overcame caution as he climbed into his pickup truck and drove toward the plume of smoke rising from his east field. "Holy mother of..." Jack whispered as he approached the crashed vessel. It was clearly not from Earth. The sleek metallic hull shimmered with an iridescent quality unlike any material he'd ever seen. Jack spotted movement through a cracked view screen. Setting aside his fear, he searched for an entrance. A panel had buckled during the crash, creating an opening large enough for him to squeeze through. Inside, the air smelled of ozone and something alien, sweet yet metallic. The interior was dimly lit by flickering emergency lights. Jack found Zorthal unconscious in the cockpit. The alien was humanoid but clearly not human, slender with purple skin, no visible ears, and 6 fingers on each hand. "Hey, you all right?" Jack asked, knowing it was unlikely the creature would understand. To his surprise, a small device on the alien's wrist lit up. "Translation protocol initiated," it announced, in perfect English. Zorthal's large, lidless eyes fluttered open. He jerked back in alarm, reaching for a weapon at his side that wasn't there. "Easy now," Jack said, raising his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The alien studied him for a moment before replying through his translation device. "This vessel requires immediate destruction. The hegemony cannot discover I've made contact." "Hegemony? What are you talking about?" Jack asked. "I am Zorthal, former scout for the Galactic hegemony. I have deserted their military. If they find this ship, they will know I've been here." Jack helped Zorthal out of the damaged vessel. The alien limped, leaning on Jack for support. "I'm Jack Murphy. Let's get you somewhere safe, then figure out what to do about your ship." Over the next few days, Jack hid Zorthal in his barn. The alien's injuries slowly healed as Jack brought him food and medical supplies. During this time, Zorthal revealed disturbing news. "Your planet is already marked for colonization," Zorthal explained one evening. "The hegemony conquers thousands of worlds. They call it preemptive pacification, neutralizing potential threats before they develop interstellar capabilities." "But we're peaceful," Jack protested. "We haven't even colonized our own solar system properly yet." "The hegemony doesn't distinguish between peaceful and hostile species. All non-hegemony life is considered a potential threat." Zorthal's large eyes blinked slowly. "That's why I deserted. I've seen too many civilizations erased." Jack realized he couldn't keep this secret. He contacted authorities who initially thought it was a prank, until they saw Zorthal in the wreckage of his ship. Within days, Dr. Olivia Reed arrived with a government task force. She was a leading xenobiologist, hastily appointed to head Earth's response. "How long do we have?" Dr. Reed asked Zorthal. 5 years, perhaps less. The hegemony follows established expansion patterns. Earth is next in their sequence. As government officials debated what to do, Jack and Zorthal formed an unlikely friendship. The alien was surprised by human kindness and adaptability. Hegemony believes humans are primitive because of your technology," Zorthal told Jack one evening as they watched the sunset from the farmhouse porch. "But they misunderstand. Your species has something rare in the galaxy, remarkable resilience and compassion. The hegemony has no concept for these qualities." "Will it be enough to save us?" Jack asked. Zorthal looked to the darkening sky. "I don't know, but if any species can surprise the hegemony, it would be humans." 5 years passed quickly as Earth prepared for the coming storm. The wreckage of Zorthal's ship yielded technological insights that would have taken humanity decades to discover on its own. Scientists worked day and night, reverse engineering alien tech while military leaders developed new strategies based on Zorthal's knowledge of hegemony tactics. Dr. Olivia Reed led the scientific efforts from a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her team had made remarkable progress with shield technology that could potentially withstand hegemony weapons. The key was understanding their energy modulation, she explained to world leaders during a secure briefing. Their weapons operate on frequencies our previous defenses couldn't detect, let alone block. Jack Murphy's farm had become a diplomatic ground zero. Leaders from nations traditionally at odds with each other met there, drawn by the need to overcome old rivalries in the face of extinction. Zorthal served as both technical advisor and cultural interpreter, helping humans understand the enemy they would face. The hegemony believes absolutely in their superiority, Zorthal explained during one such meeting. They have conquered over 300 species across 12,000 worlds. None have successfully resisted. Then we'll be the first, said General Sam Harris, representing the newly formed United Earth Defense Force. The global coalition that emerged was unprecedented in human history. Old enemies shared resources and knowledge, pooling their strengths against the common threat. Underground manufacturing facilities produced new weapons and shield generators, while orbital platforms were constructed in secret to serve as Earth's first line of defense. One quiet Tuesday morning, astronomers at the Lunar Observation Post detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system. Multiple objects emerging from what appears to be artificial jump points, reported Dr. Ryan Cooper, his voice tense but controlled over the emergency channel. Configuration matches Zorthal's descriptions of hegemony battle groups. The alert spread across the globe within minutes. Civilians headed to shelters while military personnel moved to their assigned stations. The 5 years of preparation were about to be tested. Jack found Zorthal standing outside the farmhouse looking up at the sky. Though it was daytime, the alien seemed to sense the approaching armada. "They're here," Zorthal said simply. "Are we ready?" Jack asked. "No one is ever ready for the hegemony," Zorthal replied. "But you have prepared better than any species I've known." At the United Earth Defense Command Center, Commander Alan Wilson watched as the holographic display showed the hegemony fleet's approach. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect formation toward Earth, led by a massive vessel nearly the size of Manhattan. "That's the command ship," said Dr. Reed, pointing to the largest signature. "According to Zorthal's intelligence, it will be commanded by Admiral Vexcor, the subjugator," Wilson said, recalling the briefings. "Responsible for conquering 56 worlds without a single defeat." The communications officer suddenly straightened in her chair. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the hegemony fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies in all languages." "Put it through," Wilson ordered. A harsh, deep voice filled the command center. "Attention, primitive world. This is Admiral Vexcor of the Galactic Hegemony. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. Surrender your governmental authority and disarm your military forces. Compliance will result in minimal population reduction and resource extraction. Non-compliance will result in planetary sterilization. You have one planetary rotation to respond." The message ended, leaving a heavy silence in the command center. All eyes turned to Commander Wilson. "They expect us to give up without a fight," he said. "They've never faced humans before." He nodded to the communications officer. "Send our response." "What shall I say, sir?" Wilson's face hardened with determination. "3 words should suffice. Come and take it." Admiral Vexcor stared at the message from Earth with 4 of his 6 eyes narrowed in contempt. The remaining 2 scanned data feeds from his subordinates. "Come and take it," he repeated. "Primitive arrogance. Begin the standard pacification protocol." The massive hegemony warships moved into position around Earth, their weapons charged, glowing with energy that could level mountains. On the command ship, Vexcor raised his arm to give the order to fire. All ships commence bombardment of primary population centers. Brilliant beams of energy shot toward Earth's major cities. The hegemony gunners targeted New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and dozens of other metropolises simultaneously. Admiral Vexcor watched with satisfaction as the beams descended toward the planet. Then something unexpected happened. The beams struck what appeared to be invisible barriers above each city. The energy dissipated in spectacular displays of light and color. Earth's shield technology developed using Zorthal's knowledge had worked. Impossible! Vexcor slammed his fist against his command console. How could these primitives develop shield technology compatible with our weapons? In Earth's orbital defense station, Commander Lisa Bennett watched the hegemony's confused response with grim satisfaction. "They didn't expect us to be ready," she said to her crew. "Launch Raptor squadrons now while they're regrouping." From hidden bases around the planet and concealed orbital platforms, hundreds of fighter craft emerged. The Raptors were hybrid vessels, combining Earth's best aerospace engineering with adapted hegemony technology. They were smaller and less advanced than the alien ships, but they were piloted by humans who had trained relentlessly for this moment. Commander Bennett's voice came through on all pilots' channels. "Remember your training. Use the Chaos Protocol. Don't let them predict your movements." The Raptor squadrons attacked in patterns that seemed random to the hegemony. Their battle computers, programmed to recognize and counter standard military formations, couldn't make sense of the human tactics. Major Greg Porter led the first wave, his squadron diving directly toward a hegemony destroyer. "Break pattern. On my mark," he ordered. 3, 2, 1, scatter. The 12 fighters in his squadron suddenly flew in 12 different directions. The hegemony targeting systems, designed to predict movement based on formation, couldn't track them all. The fighters fired their adapted plasma cannons, striking the destroyer at seemingly random points that were actually its most vulnerable areas, knowledge provided by Zorthal. On the hegemony command ship, alarms blared as reports of damage came in from multiple vessels. "How are they doing this?" demanded Admiral Vexcor. "Their technology should be centuries behind ours." His tactical officer, nervously flexing all 6 fingers on each hand, responded, "The humans aren't following any known combat algorithms. Admiral, they're being unpredictable. Our systems can't anticipate their movements." Back on Earth in the underground command center, Dr. Olivia Reed monitored the battle alongside Jack Murphy and Zorthal. "The shields are holding at 82% capacity," she reported. "Better than we hoped." Zorthal watched the tactical display with amazement. The hegemony has never faced this situation. Their entire military doctrine is based on technological superiority and predictable enemy responses. "Humans don't do predictable very well," Jack said with a hint of pride. The battle raged for hours. Earth's forces couldn't match the hegemony's firepower, but their erratic tactics and surprising technological adaptations prevented the aliens from gaining a decisive advantage. Earth's shields weakened but held. Finally, Admiral Vexcor ordered his fleet to pull back to a higher orbit. "This was merely our initial assessment," he told his officers, trying to mask his shock with authority. "We will analyze their capabilities and return with appropriate countermeasures." As the hegemony ships retreated to regroup, cheers erupted in command centers around Earth. But Commander Wilson quieted his staff quickly. "This was just the first engagement," he reminded them. "They'll be back, and they'll be smarter next time. But now they know something they didn't before." "What's that, sir?" asked a young officer. Wilson's face showed grim determination. "That humans don't surrender." Admiral Vexcor paced the command deck of his flagship, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. For the first time in his 300-year career, he faced a species that had not only survived first contact, but had actually damaged hegemony vessels. "I want to understand these humans," he told his senior officers. "What makes them fight differently than every other species we've encountered?" The science officer, Mech Troll, brought up holographic displays of human warfare throughout history. "They are remarkably adaptable, Admiral. Their military history shows constant innovation and irregular tactics." Vexcor studied the images with growing fascination. "We need a specimen. Find me a human military outpost we can target. I want prisoners." 3 days later, The hegemony attacked a small research station on Mars. The Earth forces fought bravely, but were overwhelmed. The survivors were taken aboard the hegemony command ship. Captain Steve Carson, commander of the Mars outpost, stood defiantly before Admiral Vex Corps despite his wounds and the restraints binding his arms. "I will ask you simple questions about human warfare," Vexicor said through a translation device. "Why do you not follow standard battle formations? Why do your fighters move chaotically?" Carson stared silently at the alien. He had been trained for capture scenarios but had never imagined being interrogated by a 7-foot purple alien with 6 eyes. "I can force the information from you," Vexcor warned. "You can try," Carson replied. For days, hegemony scientists subjected Carson to their most advanced interrogation technologies. They scanned his brain, analyzed his physiological responses, and attempted to extract information directly from his mind. The results baffled them. "Admiral," Mectral reported, "the human's neural pathways reconfigure themselves when under stress. Their minds are remarkably plastic, and they appear to have been trained to resist mental intrusion." "That's impossible," Vexcor snapped. "Only species with centuries of psychic development can resist our extraction techniques." "Nevertheless, Admiral, we cannot access his tactical knowledge. But we have learned something perhaps more valuable. Humans appear to possess extraordinary psychological resilience. Where other species break, they adapt." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Reed worked day and night with Zorthal on a new weapon against the hegemony. In her underground laboratory, surrounded by blinking equipment and holographic displays, she explained her plan to Commander Wilson. "It's a virus, but not a biological one," she said, showing him a small data crystal. "It's designed to infiltrate hegemony systems and disrupt their neural network. Their ships communicate through a shared consciousness like a hive mind, but for their technology." "How did you develop this?" Wilson asked, amazed. Dr. Reed gestured to Zorthal. "He provided the framework for understanding their systems. I just found the weakness." "Will it work?" Wilson asked the alien. Zorthal's large eyes blinked slowly. "It is brilliant science, but we must get it into their command network. That will be nearly impossible." In orbit, Earth forces continued to engage the hegemony fleet. Human pilots became increasingly effective at countering alien tactics. The hegemony ships, designed for precision and overwhelming force, struggled against opponents who never attacked the same way twice. Commander Lisa Bennett briefed her pilots before each mission. "They expect us to behave like machines, predictable and programmed. Our advantage is that we're not. Trust your instincts. Be human." Back on the hegemony command ship, Vexcor received disturbing news from his homeworld. The Council was growing, concerned about the length of the Earth campaign. This was supposed to be a standard pacification, the Council Elder's hologram stated, her tone chilling. "You have expended more resources on this single primitive world than on our last 4 conquests combined. This species is different," Vexicor insisted. "They have technology they shouldn't possess. They fight in ways our systems cannot predict." "Then adapt, Admiral," the Elder replied coldly. "Or be replaced. The hegemony does not tolerate failure." After the transmission ended, Vexcor stared at the blue-green planet on his view screen. "What are you hiding, humans?" he whispered. "And how are you doing this?" The United Earth Defense Command gathered in their underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was tense as Commander Wilson outlined the most daring plan yet conceived in humanity's struggle against the hegemony. "Operation Hornet's Nest," he said, pointing to a holographic display of the hegemony command ship. "A small team will infiltrate Admiral Vexcor's flagship and deploy Dr. Reed's virus directly into their central network." Colonel Frank Martinez studied the schematics. As leader of Earth's Special Tactics Unit, he would command the mission. "The ship is over 2 miles long with thousands of crew members. How do we get aboard undetected?" Dr. Reed stepped forward. "Zorthal has identified a vulnerability. Their waste disposal system includes automatic collection drones. We've modified a captured drone to transport your team." "Garbage duty," Martinez said with a wry smile. Fitting. Once inside, Zorthal explained, you'll have approximately 4 hours before the ship's internal sensors detect your biological signatures. Martinez selected 5 operators for the mission: Sergeant Amy Peterson, an electronics expert; Lieutenant Eric Johnson, demolition specialist; Corporal Maria Diaz, who spoke Valaxian; Private First Class Kevin Brown, a former hacker; and himself. They trained for 2 weeks in a mock-up of the hegemony ship built using Zorthal's knowledge. On the morning of the mission, Jack Murphy visited the team. I'm just a farmer who found an alien in his cornfield, he said. But what you're doing today might save our entire planet. The modified waste collection drone approached the hegemony flagship during a routine pickup cycle. Inside its cargo hold, Martinez and his team waited in uncomfortable silence. The drone was scanned, then admitted into the massive ship. We're in, whispered Martinez as they slipped out of the drone into a dimly lit maintenance corridor. 90 minutes to reach the central data core. The team moved through the labyrinthine passageways of the alien vessel. Twice they had to hide as hegemony crew members passed by. Once they were nearly discovered by a security drone, but Sergeant Peterson disabled it with an electromagnetic pulse device developed from Zorthal's designs. This place is enormous, Brown muttered as they descended a service shaft. Like a floating city. They reached the central data core, a cavernous chamber filled with pulsing crystalline structures that formed the ship's brain. Lieutenant Johnson planted small charges at the entrance to ensure they would have an escape route. Dr. Reed's virus needs to be uploaded directly to the primary node, Martinez said, pointing to a glowing column in the center of the chamber. Corporal Diaz approached the interface panel, her hand steady as she began entering the access codes Zorthal had provided. The alien symbols flashed on the screen as the system processed her input. I'm in, she announced, beginning upload. The data crystal containing the virus slid into a port on the control panel. Progress indicators appeared on the screen, showing the virus spreading through the system. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. They've detected the intrusion, Peterson shouted. How much longer? Martinez demanded. 40 seconds to complete upload, Diaz replied, her fingers flying across the alien interface. The first hegemony security forces appeared at the entrance to the chamber. Lieutenant Johnson triggered his charges, temporarily blocking their path with debris. 20 seconds, Diaz called. More security forces approached from another entrance. Private Brown and Sergeant Peterson engaged them with captured hegemony weapons. Upload complete, Diaz announced. Fall back to extraction point, Martinez ordered. As his team retreated, he realized they were being surrounded. Someone needed to stay behind to ensure the others escaped. Go, he told his team. I'll hold. Them here. Colonel, Peterson began to protest. That's an order, Sergeant. Earth needs to know the mission succeeded. As his team reluctantly withdrew, Martinez turned to face the approaching hegemony forces. He activated his final explosive charges, which would destroy the room's atmosphere containment field. The explosion would kill him, but would also prevent the hegemony from stopping the virus. In his final moments, Colonel Martinez thought of Earth, of mountains and oceans he'd never see again. But the virus was spreading through the hegemony fleet, disrupting communications, weapon systems, and navigation. On Earth, Dr. Reed watched as hegemony ships began drifting out of formation. It's working, she whispered. Martinez did it. Commander, Wilson didn't waste the opportunity. All Earth forces commence Operation Uprising. Attack now while they're vulnerable. News of Earth's resistance spread through the hegemony's conquered worlds like wildfire. Species that had lived under alien rule for generations whispered about the humans who dared to fight back. On Proxima Centauri 4, a former mining colony, aliens gathered in secret to watch smuggled footage of Earth fighters engaging hegemony ships. The humans destroyed 3 cruisers, said a Nembari rebel, his translucent skin glowing with excitement. No one has ever done that before. Similar conversations happened across 100 worlds. The hegemony had ruled through fear and technological superiority for millennia. Now both were being challenged. On Earth, Ambassador Karen Phillips led humanity's first diplomatic mission to contact these resistance movements. A former peace negotiator, she had been selected for her ability to build bridges across vast cultural differences. "We need allies," she told her team as they prepared to depart in a modified ship based on Zorthal's vessel. Earth cannot defeat the hegemony alone. Their first meeting occurred on a neutral trading post in the Bellatrix system. Representatives from 7 subjugated species met with the human delegation in a secure underground chamber. The aliens varied, wildly in appearance from the silicon-based Draconites to the gaseous Mist Collective, but all shared one thing: hatred of the hegemony. "Why should we trust humans?" asked the Draconite leader, his crystalline body glittering under the dim lights. "Your species is known only for fighting." Ambassador Phillips stepped forward. "We fight now, so we won't have to fight forever. The hegemony believes in conquest without end. We believe in freedom." "Pretty words," said the Mist Collective representative, her voice a whisper of harmonics. "But the hegemony has ruled for 12,000 years. What makes you think humans can change that?" "Because we already have," Phillips replied. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's recent victories. For the first time, the hegemony is losing ships faster than they can replace them. Their supply lines are stretched, and now they fear something new. "What?" asked the Draconite. "Inspiration," Phillips said simply. "If Earth can resist, why not Draconite Prime? Why not the Mist homeworlds? Why not every planet under their control?" The meeting ended with cautious agreements. The resistance movements would share intelligence and, where possible, sabotage hegemony operations in their sectors. In return, Earth would provide technology and tactical knowledge. Meanwhile, Jack Murphy and Zorthal embarked on an even more dangerous mission. Using Zorthal's knowledge of hegemony security protocols, they traveled to Valaxia, the hegemony capital world. "I never thought I'd return here," Zorthal said as their small ship approached the massive artificial ring that orbited a red giant star. "Especially not with a human friend." "Friend?" Jack repeated with a smile. 5 years ago, if someone told me I'd be sneaking onto an alien planet with a purple six-fingered alien, I'd call them crazy. Using forged identities, they made contact with a secret faction of hegemony citizens who opposed the Empire's endless conquest. These dissidents included scientists, cultural preservationists, and even former military officers who believed the hegemony had strayed from its original purpose. "Our founders sought to preserve knowledge and culture across the galaxy," explained Renleth, a Valaxian historian. "Somewhere, we became conquerors instead of guardians." Jack shared stories of Earth's resistance, while Zorthal provided technical details that could help the dissidents disrupt hegemony operations from within. On the hegemony homeworld, the ruling council was meeting in emergency session. Reports from the Earth campaign had caused unprecedented concern. "Admiral Vexcor has lost 23 capital ships," reported the military elder, "and now we're receiving reports of unrest on 14 worlds. This human problem must be contained," said the council leader, her voice cold. "If knowledge of their resistance continues to spread—" She didn't need to finish. Every council member understood the implication. For the first time in thousands of years, the hegemony faced a threat, not just to their expansion but to their entire empire. "The humans must be made an example of," the leader declared. "Authorization is granted for ultimate measures." The military elder's eyes widened. "The planet killer has not been used since the Cygnus Rebellion." "Then it is time to remind the galaxy of our power," said the leader. "Earth must be eliminated completely and publicly. Only then will this spark of rebellion be extinguished." Admiral Vexcor stood before the holographic projection of the Hegemony Council, his posture rigid with formality, despite the private nature of the transmission. "The planet killer weapon is being prepared for deployment," the council leader informed him. "It will arrive in the Earth system within 15 standard cycles. You are to maintain containment operations until then." Vexicor bowed his head in acknowledgement, but inside a strange feeling stirred, something like doubt. In all his centuries of service, he had never witnessed the use of the planet killer. The weapon didn't just destroy worlds. It erased them from existence, converting all matter into energy in a chain reaction that couldn't be stopped once initiated. Is such a measure necessary? He asked carefully. The humans fight well, but they cannot leave their system. We could simply blockade. Your opinion was not requested, Admiral. The leader cut him off. This is no longer about one primitive world. This is about preserving the order of the hegemony across all our territories. Earth has become a symbol. Symbols must be eliminated. On a hegemony supply ship bound for the front, intelligence officer Daniel Collins sat quietly among cargo containers. His dark skin was now the pale blue of a Zerillian freighter worker, thanks to advanced biomodification. For 3 months, he had worked undercover, gathering information on hegemony movements. When he overheard 2 officers discussing the planet killer, his blood ran cold. He slipped away during his shift and transmitted an encrypted message to Earth using a miniature quantum communicator hidden in his tooth. The message reached Dr. Olivia Reed at the United Earth Defense Command. She immediately called an emergency meeting with Commander Wilson and the remaining military leadership. A planet killer, Wilson repeated, his face ashen. Are we sure this intelligence is reliable? Daniel is our best deep cover operative, Dr. Reed confirmed. If he says it's coming, then it's coming. How does such a weapon work? Asked General Harris. Zorthal, who had returned from his mission, explained, it creates a cascading reaction in the atomic structure of matter itself. The reaction spreads from its impact point until the entire planet is converted to energy. There is no defense. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Then we need to stop it before it reaches Earth, Commander Wilson said finally. Where is it now? According to Collins, it's being transported from a secure facility in the Arcturus system, Dr. Reed reported. We have approximately 2 weeks before it arrives. Lieutenant Nicole Garcia stepped forward. She was one of Earth's most decorated fighter pilots, with 12 confirmed hegemony kills to her name. I volunteer to lead an intercept mission, she said without hesitation. This would be one way, Wilson warned. Even if you reach the weapon, the only way to ensure its destruction would be— I understand the mission parameters, sir, Garcia replied. Her brown eyes held steady determination. If we don't stop this weapon, there won't be an Earth to come back to anyway. Over the next 3 days, a special team of volunteers formed. Besides Lieutenant Garcia, 7 pilots and 3 technical specialists agreed to the suicide mission. Their plan was simple but desperate. Intercept the transport carrying the planet killer, board it using modified stealth shuttles, and overload the weapon's power core. The night before departure, Lieutenant Garcia visited the memorial wall that had been erected to honor those who had fallen in the war. She traced her fingers over Colonel Martinez's name. We'll finish what you started, she whispered. The mission launched without ceremony or public acknowledgement. Using intelligence provided by resistance allies, Garcia's team plotted an intercept course that would allow them to approach the hegemony transport carrying the weapon through a dense asteroid field, where sensors would be less effective. For 7 tense days, they traveled in complete silence, their ships running on minimal power to avoid detection. When they finally spotted the transport, a massive vessel escorted by 5 hegemony cruisers, Garcia sent a final message to Earth. Target acquired. Proceeding with mission. For Earth. The small team of human ships accelerated toward the hegemony formation. Alarms blared across the alien vessels as they detected the approaching threat. Weapons fire erupted, illuminating the darkness of space. Evasive pattern Delta, Garcia ordered her squadron. Remember, only one of us needs to reach the transport. 3 human ships were destroyed in the initial exchange, their pilots' sacrifices creating openings for the others. Garcia's shuttle took heavy damage, but managed to reach the transport's hull. Using breaching charges, her team cut their way. Inside, we're in, she reported to the remaining ships outside. Proceeding to the weapon chamber. As Garcia's team fought their way through the transport's corridors, Admiral Vexcor received word of the attack. Watching the humans' desperate assault, he finally understood what made them different. They would sacrifice everything to protect their world and their freedom. For the first time in his long career, he questioned whether the hegemony's path was right. The Hegemony Council convened an emergency session. Reports from the Earth system had thrown their carefully ordered galaxy into chaos. The planet-killer transport had been destroyed in a blast that took 3 escort cruisers with it. Lieutenant Nicole Garcia and her team had succeeded in their suicide mission, but at the cost of their lives. How could primitives with barely a century of space travel defeat our most secure weapon? Demanded the science elder, her voice trembling with rage and fear. Perhaps, said the oldest council member, speaking for the first time, we have made a fundamental error in our assessment of humans. The chamber fell silent. The elder of history rarely spoke during military matters. Explain, commanded the council leader. For 12,000 years we have judged species by their technology, the elder said. We believed superior weapons meant superior beings. The humans have shown us our mistake. Their strength lies not in their technology, but in their spirit. Meanwhile, Admiral Vexicor faced a decision that would define his long life. The destruction of the planet killer had triggered automatic protocols. The entire hegemony fleet was now converging on Earth for a final, overwhelming assault. Standing on his command deck, Vexicor watched tactical displays showing hundreds of UR hegemony vessels entering the Earth system. The humans had fought brilliantly, but they couldn't possibly withstand this force. Yet something had changed within him. He had studied humans intensely during this campaign. He had seen their art, their music, their literature smuggled from Earth by curious hegemony researchers. And he had seen their courage. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered suddenly. On Earth, Commander Alan Wilson was preparing for what might be humanity's final battle when the unexpected message arrived. From Admiral Vexicor? He asked in disbelief. The message was brief. Prepare to receive envoy under flag of truce. Discuss terms. Wilson consulted with world leaders who agreed to the meeting with caution. Hours later, a small hegemony shuttle landed at the designated site in neutral Switzerland. To everyone's shock, Admiral Vexicor himself emerged. I come without authorization from the Council, he admitted to the assembled human leaders. The fleet is preparing a final assault that Earth cannot survive, but I believe this war can end another way. As they talked, Zorthal arrived with Jack Murphy. Their mission to the hegemony homeworld had borne unexpected fruit. The dissident movement had grown powerful enough to challenge the Council, if given the right opportunity. The Council fears one thing above all, Zorthal explained: direct confrontation that exposes their vulnerability. Commander Wilson leaned forward. Then let's give them one. The plan they formed was audacious beyond reason. While the hegemony fleet prepared their final attack, Earth would launch a direct assault on Vexicor's flagship, not to destroy it, but to capture it. If we control the command ship, Wilson explained, we control the fleet's communication network. We can broadcast the truth to every hegemony world simultaneously. The next day, as the hegemony fleet moved into attack position, Earth launched what appeared to be a desperate, all-out attack. But this was misdirection. The real mission was a small strike team led by Commander Wilson himself, heading for the flagship's command deck. With Vexicor's help, they boarded undetected. Just as the hegemony weapons prepared to fire, Wilson's team seized control of the communication systems. Across thousands of worlds, regular broadcasts were interrupted by images of Earth's struggle, and Vexicor himself explaining the Council's deception. The hegemony was founded to preserve knowledge and culture. Vexicor told trillions of beings across the galaxy. Instead, we became destroyers of both. The humans have shown us another path, one of cooperation rather than conquest. On the hegemony homeworld, the dissident movement seized the moment. Millions took to the streets demanding an end to endless war. The Council, facing unprecedented rebellion, had no choice but to recall the fleet and open negotiations. 6 months later, Jack Murphy stood in his cornfield looking up at the stars. Beside him, Zorthal contemplated the new Galactic Alliance flag being raised at a nearby ceremony. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" Jack asked. Never, Zorthal admitted. The hegemony believed themselves invincible because of their technology. That was their biggest mistake.